Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you the weekly DIA and IWM analysis. DIA is the more popular Dow Jones Industrial ETF, and the IWM is the more popular Russell 2000 small cap ETF. Although I think technically, if I read up on IWM recently, and I think the average capitalization is just over 3 billion. I think that puts it in the smaller mid cap, but nonetheless, most call it the small cap index because I think it comprises both small and mid cap. Anyway, enough of that. This is weekly analysis, broad brush stroke, kind of basic, but that's where you start with analysis is basic, and then you become more detailed as you work your way in. But this is sort of broad brush stroke, week by week analysis. It no longer includes the triple Q. There was a weekly DIA, IWM, and triple Q. The triple Q has gone daily now with a daily triple Q report, and I've had the daily SPY report now since early October. Both of those put out every day, as you might imagine, by around 6 p.m. Central Standard Time each and every trading day for the next trading day. This weekly DIA and IWM goes out typically Sunday afternoons for the following week. So once again, I want to encourage you to please click like if you like the Wicked Stocks analysis, in particular this weekly DIA and IWM report, and subscribe. Subscribing to the Wicked Stocks YouTube channel will apprise you of notification each and every time new content has been uploaded to the Wicked Stocks YouTube channel. And both of those help me a great deal in terms of web presence, as they say. So without further ado, let's jump to the DIA and then we'll finish with the IWM. This channel structure was tested 3 weeks ago this week at 243.27. It had been a 3 to 5 week target following a sell signal 3 to 5 weeks earlier. I'm not going to give you exact dates. If you've been watching this weekly series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We had a long-term buy signal, I think it was in October, and that failed 2 weeks later, and that led to the testing of this targeted channel bottom this week at 343.27. Like it did 2 weeks ago, it can contain selling, say, through January trade. And from here, this market can quite easily, over the next, at this point in time, 2 to 3 weeks or less, reach that 367.97 channel top. On the way, we've had 352.77, which we closed above 2 weeks ago. That essentially held last week's lows. Last week's low is 352.71. 352.77 is that high of the move low. So that is a kind of I'd call it a minor support level in and of itself. If we happen to break 352.77 this week, let's say that if we close below it any day this week, then we should actually revisit that 343.27 channel bottom, which can contain monthly, possibly quarterly selling pressures. And from here, we can turn once again back up to the 367.97 channel top. But if we close below 343.27 at the end of this week, and I think you need to allow 1% margins here. I'll let you do the math, but 343.27 minus 3.43, you'll do the math. That would be the valid sell signal. If we close at 342 even, for instance, that's just too close for reliability's sake. I mean, we may then get downside follow through, but it wouldn't be highly actionable because you're sort of in this gray zone. So I like to use the 1% violation thresholds. And so in any way, closing below 343.27 by the 1% margin would then indicate in as little as 1 to 3 weeks, I'm guessing, under that kind of volatility, the 323.72 extreme channel bottom, which includes trade going back to the March 2020 COVID low. I call that long-term support, able to contain selling perhaps through 2022. And it's also backed up by a much more significant long-term support level than I can show here. This is the rising channel bottom at 323.72 I showed in the previous slide, and that precedes 315.67. you could call this a significant 8-point zone of long-term support. That once again becomes an objective only if we settle this week below 343.27 by the 1% margin. But bottom line, 315.67 up to 323.72, a really solid long-term bottom-picking territory. The market can place a significant long-term low there, not only through 2022, but perhaps even longer. As we look back, say 3 to 5 years from now, and if we were to test that area, it may well have been the pullback to buy into at that point in time. 315.67 is a long-term channel top that uses the March 2009 financial crisis low that you can see in the far left. And so we have a channel top here that we settled above about a year ago, and it can once again absorb longer-term selling pressures and becomes, I think 1 to 3 weeks, 323.72 if we close below 343.27, and then perhaps within 3 to 5 weeks, let's say by the end of January, we just might test that significant 315.67 long-term support level. So let's talk upside again. If we hold above 352.77, that 367.97 channel top is in reach over the next 1 to 3 weeks or so, where we could top out through January and fall off perhaps back to channel support presently at 343.27. But if we close above 367.97 at the end of any week, and that just may happen over the next few weeks, then we have a longer-term buy signal, and ultimately, maybe as little as 3 to 5 months, I would anticipate that 419.81 rising channel top. But it is rising, and so it may take longer than 3 to 5 months. It could take into later 2022, and along the way, there will certainly be hurdles that I'll be apprising you of on the weekly DIA and IWM analysis. So let's jump to the IWM. IWM has been very heavy, the small cap index, the Russell 2000, and it has been testing over the last 3 weeks consecutively that targeted 215.37 channel bottom. Like the Dow, we had a sell signal in the IWM about a month and a half ago when it failed on a long-term buy signal. And so this has been an objective, and we've been testing it repeatedly for 3 weeks in a row. And we've been closing for the 2 of those 3 weeks right at that formation. It is at 215.37 this week. We settled just above it last week. It can absorb selling through January. And from here, we could, over the next as little as 3 to 5 weeks, but I want to say more like 1 to 2 months perhaps, say by the end of February, reach that 244.91 channel top, which is long-term resistance and is an upside buy signal if settled above that should play out well into 2022. But I don't want to get way ahead of myself. The question is when or if we were to test 244.91, what is the upside buy signal at this point in time? It would be a settlement above 224.38, and that is nothing more than a simple descending channel top off the last several weeks' lows against the intermediate high. That is an area, 224.38, that can contain weekly buying pressures. And from there, just so you know, if you're a short-term IWM trader, once testing 224.38, the market is susceptible to falling back to the 215.37 longer-term support level. If we can close this week above 224.38 in the IWM, I think we're about 3 to 5 weeks away from reaching that 244.91 long-term resistance area. And that is an area, 244.91, that can contain monthly, possibly Q1 highs, and if settled above, would be a significant long-term buy signal. I don't even want to go there yet because we're still having trouble mustering strength here, having consistently tested this 215.37 channel bottom. What if we do close below it? Now, we're so close to it that even if we close below this any day this week by a 1% margin, I think that's an actionable sell signal. You do need to follow through on the weekly settlement below 215.37 by a 1% margin. So that would be 2.15 minus 215.37. That would be 213.22, right? Something like that. I think 213.22 is the number. You can do the math yourself. So if we close any day this week, 213.22 or lower, we have a sell signal. You want to see the market then close the week itself at 213.22 or lower. In other words, 1% below 215.37. And then I think the market sets up for a test of its own long-term support. The IWM also has a long-term channel top presently at 191.82. And I'm going to say that if we close this week below 215.37 by a 1% margin, even on a daily basis, we're probably 3 to 5 weeks away, say by the end of January, of testing that 191.82 long-term support level. And like the DIA, the IWM has its own long-term channel top. It settled above about a year ago. That incorporates trade going back to the 2009 crisis low. It can, 191.82, absorb selling through 2022 and possibly even longer than that. So once again, it becomes an objective only if we close below 215.37. Until then, we can, over the next few months, rally up to 244.91. And the signal for that, at least early on, would be a settlement this week above 224.38. I think that kind of covers it for the DIA IWM. Please click like, please click subscribe. It helps me out a great deal. And watch the daily SPY report, the daily Triple Q report. We also put out one free stock pick a week on YouTube. It shows up in the Wicked Stocks website first, and then it follows up about a day later on the YouTube channel. So clicking like and clicking subscribe helps me a great deal. I appreciate it very much. I will be back a week from today or a week from Sunday with next week's weekly analysis in the DIA and IWM. You have a great week.